cleaned a musket? No? Well, then you know nothing about cleaning a musket. I want to show you, this is a demo piece. I wanted to buy a kit and build my own musket. I thought, well, I'm leery about doing the inletting and all the carving and so forth. So maybe what I'll do is try to find an old clunker and just tear it apart and put it back together and see what I can do. This happened to be a musket that I got from the Hunter's Trading Post in Weymouth. Paid $50 for it. He said, we have this thing, I can't guarantee if it fires or not, but it sounds like exactly what you're looking for. This had barrel bands, and I still have all of the parts. But I tore it apart because I wanted to see what a barrel, you never get to see your barrel on a musket here because it's locked in with pins. And I wanted to see the whole method of how this actually is attached. So you can see that here's a guide pin that's part of the musket that goes through the stock. And here's one of the pins right here that holds it in. Here is the breech plug. Now, the other reason I wanted to bring this for demo purposes is after I refinished the stock, I stripped it all down. And this is a hand-rubbed finish that I did. I took it to the range and fired musket balls. This is like 60, this isn't 62, but it's one of the odd calibers. And I always go down, like on the Brown Bess. This is a 75 caliber musket, but I fire 69 caliber ball out of that, which is what they apparently did do in the day. They didn't, you don't try to fill your chamber, your barrel with musket ball. You put it at least one step down. Took it to the range, and this was before I knew a lot about muskets, was told by the people at Hunter's Trading Post to use smokeless black powder, because a lot of what they sell there is hunting guns, contemporary hunting guns to black powder people, and they prefer to sell the smokeless. You do not use smokeless black powder in these guns. For one reason, it's not authentic. You want to see the plume. The smokeless is contrary to what we're trying to do. We want to throw a lot of smoke.
And the smell too, right?
Right. Well, you'll still get the smell with smokeless, but smokeless is trying to bring down a lot of that waste material. Consequently, the formulation is completely different than regular black powder, and the pressures are a lot higher. Took this to the range, the guy didn't know if it would shoot or not. Fired off 3 shots at a target, and I was quite impressed with its accuracy compared to the Brown Bess, as a matter of fact. But on the 4th bullet that I shot, it didn't sound right. It did project, but it was more of a whoosh than a bang. And I thought, there is something very wrong here. You can see, I was concerned. Since this was an uncertified sort of weapon, and the sound didn't sound right, that was the last one I fired that day. When I took it apart, you can see that in fact, this is all char.
Compromise the breech plug?
Right. It blew out it didn't blow it out, but it blew through. In fact, I don't know if we want to
So
even
it
bother.
escapes like through.
Right,
the hole.
but if I was, and I can show it to you, if we want to put a funnel and put some water on here,
I was gonna say, could a little light go through?
it will pour, water will pour out of the breech plug.
Yeah.
Too much pressure. There was way too much pressure in the smokeless.
So it kind of blew back.
Exactly.
It blew the wood out.
Right.
The backing of it, I guess, yeah.
So
I never really
we do
thought
not
about
use smokeless powder ever.
And that's because it's much stronger.
There's more pressure.
There's more pressure.
That's right.
Didn't know
It's
that.
going to propel your projectile at way over the speed that this was
Like
meant.
1,000 feet per second thing.
Well,
It's
this they say can go about the speed of sound, which is 1,100, therefore somewhere around there. Depends on your altitude.
Elevation.
1,100 feet per second. And I believe that it's probably quite accurate, but smokeless will go even higher than that. So it's actually very dangerous. Don't do it. Okay, tear down and cleaning. One of the first things you're going to notice, I go to the range every 4th of July with my sons and fire live rounds. Last year, I shot 25 live rounds without a single misfire. And that I am ecstatic about. I only hit the target maybe 5 times. But still, the whole idea that I could reload, fire, and there was one cleaning required during that whole episode, I am thrilled about. And I attribute that to the cleaning method that I use. Now, I'm not telling everybody that it's required that you clean your musket the same way that I do, because I know you'll have your own favorite lubricant and your own, because of your setup where you do your cleaning, you might adopt a whole different procedure, and I'm fine with that. I'm not making any requirements or telling you you're doing it wrong. I'm just going to tell you how I do it, and I think it's actually a very successful way of cleaning. In years prior to the method that I'm currently using, I would use windshield wiper fluid, which was what Steve Perkins recommended when he was around. That's what we would pour down the
Windex
barrel.
or the Windex or the one.
No,
in
the
car
windshield wiper.
that you put in your car that doesn't freeze.
Right.
Ah, okay. I was using Windex.
That was what he wanted everybody to, or he didn't, there was no rules. It
Yeah.
was what he was recommending.
But we all knew nothing then anyway.
Right.
We all knew.
So
Anyway,
I
yeah.
went through some different ways of cleaning before I've arrived at what I do today. The Windex through the windshield wiper fluid worked. It was a clean musket. I wasn't seeing rust. I was satisfied. But when I would go to the range and fire multiple live rounds, I would find that after maybe 5 shots, trying to ram down that 6th ball was incredibly difficult. Because what's happening when you're firing every time, you've got a tremendous amount of waste product with black powder, and you are narrowing your bore. So the chamber is actually getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and it's hard to break through that. You put, you tear, it's a regular cartridge, you tear off the paper, you pour the powder down, then you have to ram your ball down and make sure it's seated. That ball has to be all the way to the breech. This has nothing to do with the color guard. I'm just talking about the whole point here is how we know that the gun is clean and how we know it's not clean. After 6 shots, I was finding it was very difficult to use the ramrod and get that ball down. So what I'd have to do is stop, bring out my bench rod, put a brush on it,
A cyclone, right, or something?
right, and you have to spend some time cleaning. And this actually was the way it was in the day. You know, it's said that in a battle, if they shot 6 rounds in a battle, that's probably a lot, because now the musket really needs a complete maintenance to get to get prepared to be shot again. So I saw firsthand evidence that that could be true. With the procedure that I'm going to show you, the musket stays clean a lot longer. So, first thing that we do is remove the lock. And as I was showing over here, it is not a difficult procedure. What we want to do is, first we put a spring on the frizzen spring.
You want one to do now? You got one? Or you want to?
Actually, I think I still have
I'm
it.
sure you do, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, cool. That's great. Look at that. Oh, look, it's like a TV show, you know?
Right, right.
You got it all.
Well,
Thank
I might as well do it with my own, so.
I wouldn't take that off, right?
No, you can take it off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. The reason this is all taken apart is I was showing Jim Holmes what he did to his own musket. This is not uncommon.
We don't throw out names here.
Okay, student A.
Right.
Who screwed
The
something?
flash guard required equipment.
Yeah, you need a flash guard, yep.
You need a flash guard. The national park will not allow you to shoot without a flash guard and without a frizzen or a hammer stall.
Yep, we'll let-
Hammer stall.
Mhm.
Newcomers to the business will immediately say, "Oh, well, that's going to be simple to put on here," and they just pull the screw off.
God, we've been all through this. Strip the thing, you know,
Right, you say, what-
Strip the,
Geez, that was incredibly difficult to get. Why was that so hard to get out of there? And then, well, it's not going back in. What's going on?
oh, man.
This is the frizzen spring.
The ignorance of the new, you know?
Right. And it is putting a lot of force upward. And as you unscrew, that continues to apply force, and this is how you destroy a screw. So it's not going to want to go back in. Yes, you can't, at this point, all you're doing with the vise is taking the tension off the spring. And you can now let it go back, even though this isn't installed back in the gun, but we can do that later. I can bring this is your vise, right?
That's mine, yeah.
Right. We want to make sure you get your stuff back. So, the first thing in cleaning here. Now, part of my whole procedure is I use this. I have a bench in my garage, so I might be lucky if you're one of those cleaning in your kitchen. This might not be a convenient thing to have, but these are very handy, something like this, for cleaning responsibilities. You'll see right now my frizzen is at under full tension. What I want to do first is relax that tension with the spring vise. And really, it's only 2 or 3 turns. You're not.
Well, that's fine too.
One of the things I have learned with the musket, anytime we're dealing with screws, there is no situation, maybe the hammer screw, but I would even be reluctant there. There is no screw on the musket that needs to be cranked real tight. You don't need a torque wrench, you know. You just get it snug and then maybe an eighth of a turn. There's nowhere on the Musket that I can think. Maybe holding some of the furniture on, I don't know. That's different. That stuff doesn't come off. But regularly maintained parts, well, I should correct that because the screw holding the
Tool type.
right, the flint on, that's going to be cranked real tight. But other than that, any other screw that you need to bring a screwdriver to, snug, and then maybe just a tweak more on that. Now, the purists want you to use authentic tools, and I have one, but I don't use it. A Pickering tool.
I gotta get one of those, yeah. I got
One of the neat things about a Pickering tool, you can get these on eBay. There's a guy that sells these for like 18 bucks on eBay. One of the parts of the Pickering tool that is really useful is the hook, and that's used up here to loosen this screw to get the flint in and out. That's why there's a hole in that screw, and the Pickering tool will assist you in getting your flint out. But
But it's also got a slide top too, so.
right,
You
right
put
in
it
there.
Yeah.
You put it right in there. And then, see, you can use it like a bottle opener.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah, I just used a screwdriver, because to me that was easier.
Exactly. I bought one of these. I
Right.
thought you've got to be authentic. If you're, yes,
Which I
okay.
recommend against this.
They're very cheap
Yes,
made.
and this was very, yes, and it's bent.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, I gotta get one of those.
The Pickering tool is a good
Stainless
tool.
steel, that thing's hardened steel, that won't.
Right. And it is made to fit your screws. If you were ever to need to bring tools out, when you're in uniform, in the public, you're at an event, maybe that's the time that you bring your Pickering tool out. But for general maintenance, I'm gonna use regular screwdriver. All right. So I have loosened the frizzen spring, and now I'm going to take the lock off the Musket. And it's this simple. There is no mystery, there's no science.
And there's, I always try to keep the same screw, but they say you don't have to even, that they are interchangeable.
Right.
But I tend to keep them uniform, like one of them goes here, that goes back there.
That is not a bad habit to get into. I have found these screws actually Jeff Zemer made for me because I had a problem where they were stripped, and he created these screws for me. He welded onto the original a new stainless steel end and threaded it for me. So they're almost identical. They might not be exactly identical. I don't think that it matters. Be aware that once you've taken that off, you could lose this furniture. This thing might just drop off. There's no need to remove it, but you can. It can be removed. You might have to pry it off. What you're going for is the lock. Right? You're trying to remove the lock. The reason the spring is on there is because after firing, one of the things that will be completely filthy is your flash guard. So now after you put a spring vise on, you might want to just see if this screw goes into yours.
Yeah, try.
Right now. Make sure I get mine back.
Pay no attention. Can I see your screwdriver?
So this is what you should see on what would be considered a clean musket. After it's been fired, there really shouldn't be much crud down here, but it can occur. What you're looking for here is rust. You want to stay on top of any rust issues here. But more precisely, the reason we have taken the lock off is that we are now going to be pouring water, in my recommendation, down the barrel. Pipe cleaners are what I use, but you know, that's other people. What do you use?
What do you use? What other people use?
I'm sure there's other
Other
ideas.
I use a tube, what do you
I
use?
use a pipe cleaner.
Yeah, pipe cleaner works.
I use a
It
toothpick
will-
with a pad.
It will, you'll see moisture wicking through it.
The thing
It's not gonna stop it completely.
Not at all.
But you're not trying to. If you're doing it in your kitchen, you might be making a puddle of some very sooty, this is the good one, right?
Doesn't work though.
Doesn't work.
One of the things that I was conscious of or nervous of, Bob, was the toothpick or the pipe cleaner going too far into the barrel and therefore maybe inhibiting my cleaning at all.
Well-
but that probably,
No,
the toothpick
no,
has broken off.
actually, I
That
did
won't have any
jump
impact.
one
That'll
step
have no
ahead.
impact, will it? Okay.
Everybody should have a separate bench rod. This is something I got through Track of the Wolf. This is a Delrin, some sort of synthetic material, plastic material, unbreakable supposedly. I bought the longest one that they have. You don't have to get, as it turns out, the longest one, because you can see that I have considerable excess.
It doesn't matter.
Does it come with that little ender you have to buy?
No, this is additional. What I was saying is I jumped ahead of
I have a
myself
list of
by
stuff,
putting
Brad.
the
Okay.
I'm tracking
the,
I might have said,
pipe
let me do that again.
cleaner in there.
That's called a, what do they call that again, a worm, what do they call that little?
It's a worm.
That's a worm, yeah.
The ones in Track of the Wolf, you can have a handle on it. Because I was just looking at them the other day to get one, but I was gonna get one at the local store here. But then I happened not to go because they didn't have a screw.
Just to expedite your cleaning. I'm not gonna open this one right now.
Here's the.
But this will get threaded onto the end of the Delrin rod. I try to stay very consistent with all of my parts.
I got another one.
Brushes, mops, worms, patch, what do they call these things? Jags. They will come in a variety of sizes. I want to stick with 10/32. It is the biggest diameter thread. I feel that it's better to stay consistent. I'm not going to have step up and step down situations. If everything is 10/32, then I'm not fumbling around looking for an adapter. So this rod, the length, I bought the longest length because I wasn't sure how things were going to go together. Made sure it's female 10/32, so all of my accessories are 10/32. So what you would do first, remove your lock, put a brush on. I use just these plain brushes, and you'll see the tornado brush is oftentimes recommended, which is like what shotgun people use a lot of. The difference between a tornado and one of these brushes is the swirl on a tornado brush, which I think is really intended for a rifle.
What size is that brush?
This one is 75 caliber. This is the largest one you can buy, actually. 75 caliber
There's a
brush.
tornado block.
There's a tornado, and you'll see that This is really designed, it's gonna do the same job, so you're not gonna harm anything, but I think these are more money. And really, the intended use of that is for a rifle, so that it's going down the barrel cleaning your rifling. That's not an issue, this is a smooth bore. So one of these brushes is really adequate. First thing you're gonna do is remove all of this stuff we can get rid of. Now this is a clean musket and I don't have the brush on there. So what I would do is normally a big rigorous up and down, and you'll be alarmed at how much stuff would come out. Turn it upside down, and you'll get a pile
Yeah, a
of
couple
stuff.
times.
And you've been out, you've shot 3 rounds, and all 3 of them fired, and you'll say, where did all of that crap come from? It's amazing how filthy. The point I'm trying to make is how dirty black powder is. So by using the brush and swabbing the barrel first, you're gonna save yourself some time on the cleaning procedure.
What do you swab it with
Well,
after you've used the dry brush on it?
we're getting there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have gone up and down, maybe 2 or 3 times, dumped all of the ash that is loose. But you've still got a lot of crud that's in there. This is where now you plug your touch hole. And my procedure is boiling water, no soap, because this is where you're free to do whatever you want. This is my procedure. I put a pot on the stove and bring it to a rapid boil. This is back out in the garage. I've got it leaning up.
You got a nice thick pair of gloves on.
Right.
That
because
barrel will get
you
red
will
hot.
burn
That barrel
yourself.
will get warm.
Yeah,
Trust
nice
me.
leather, even it goes with the leather even, right?
Right.
I made the mistake of wearing.
In
you know,
fact,
cloth
what
with
I have actually taken to doing,
Okay, cute.
because this is leaning up against my workbench out in the garage. I take one of those spring clamps, alligator clamps, and I put that around the gun, and now I'm handling the gun
So it doesn't.
He's a
run
thinker,
dry.
this
right through the
He's a thinker.
alligator clamp.
For those of you that do it in the kitchen, it will go through more than one layer of paper towel and it really
Yes. We're talking boiling water. Very carefully, and I brought this to show you, but you wouldn't dare use it. I had a Polar Spring bottle of water, the 16-ounce bottle. That, well, no, but 16 ounces of water is what this takes, just about. So you're filling this up with a half a gallon. That's all you have to do is boil 16 ounces of water. All right? Pour the water down and let it sit. And now what I'll do, this will sit here for 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, you'll do that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't do that. Oh, I
I'll
should
let
do
it-
that. Okay, that's a good
I'll let
idea.
it sit that long, because now what I'm doing is I'm cleaning all the crud off my flash drive. I'm cleaning the lock. I'm doing other maintenance chores at the same time. So this will be leaning up somewhere with the first round of hot water. And I say first round because there's going to be multiple rounds. So you take that out
It takes so much time.
and dump it. It's going to be
Sunday
pure
night,
black.
an hour and
It's
a
going to
half.
be
Yeah, we gotta
ugly,
clean the
dirty
thing.
black.
Not extensively.
All right?
Is it, does letting it sit there, is that going to dissolve more of the black powder? I mean, I don't do that. I pour the boiling water down. I
This
use
is-
multiple layers of paper towel. I don't fill it all the way. I fill it like 3/4 full. I
Right.
just shake the shit out of it.
And then I also put,
And then I dump it out.
I also put the copper one back in with the water in it.
Well, you can do
And I
that.
go up and down, you know.
Everybody's going to
No, it's really
develop
good to share
their...
the stories.
Right,
Boiling water and
everybody's
using
going
the
to
brush
have their
with it
own
then?
procedure. I don't bother. I think that letting it sit there is helping. It's helping to dissolve.
Never thought of it.
I would think so because it's letting it soak in, because
Right.
it's dried and caked.
Yeah.
The more
Right.
you let it sit, the more it will.
Right, now the important thing is,
Lets it sit and then he does that. So that's a good,
it-
try that.
it's gonna be followed with 2 more rounds of water, and that's gonna happen right away. I don't let anything dry out, in other words.
No, exactly.
So I'm boiling some more water. I come back out, do the same thing again. Now, I also have taken to using these scrub things, and I'll cut little squares, 2x2 squares out, that you can then, with your worm, put the worm through the scrubby and go
You
down.
get a nice tight, you get a
Yeah.
tight fit to get it, okay.
Go down the gun that way. Because they'll come out, they'll be filthy. You'll see. You keep
Are you doing the
doing,
copper one, or what are you doing? Are you
I do the
scrubbing with the
copper,
copper? That's
melt
what
with the
I-
water, I dump the water out, then I do the copper, then I do another round of water.
You do, okay. I
What
leave the
you're-
water in there and do the copper, but that looks like a good one.
right, what you're gonna notice is, you wanna keep doing these steps over and over again until you're satisfied that it's looking pretty clean. You can't see down there. There's no way you can put it up to the light, look through and say, oh, it's clean. You don't know. So you're waiting, you're looking at the puddles that
Exactly.
you're
I'm waiting for the
creating.
gray to go away, and waiting
And
for it
you're-
to turn clear.
Right, when you're seeing that you're satisfied that way.
Because it will go through stages and be coming out gray and dirty, and then lighter colored and lighter, and then the water.
Right.
And then I'm, like you said, after 3 or 4 times, then I'm like, okay,
Right.
this is about as clean as I can get it, so now I'm gonna
Yeah,
start
Robert,
the
I
pads.
missed something here, in you're using the Scotch-Brite, and you're, what, attaching it to the worm? You would cut a piece
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, I'll pull one of these out, and I'll cut, something that's approximately a 2x2 square.
Okay.
The worm, this is something that you can, you take
Screw it into the worm.
the worm and you
Yeah.
screw it, not all the way through, but well into the Scotch
And you're
Brite.
screwing into the edge of it, not into the, or you?
I
you're
go
screwing-
right into the middle of it.
Okay,
Right
in the middle, okay,
because
thank you.
Then it'll fold up inside.
Right.
That's what I was, okay, good, that's what I wasn't clear on,
And
okay.
scrub,
Because I like that sound of that,
scrub up and down with that.
yeah.
It's just another way of attacking, basically. You've done it with a brush. I've never done this wet. You've suggested while there's water. I suppose you can do that. I think it's gonna be messy.
I think Cunningham might have said that.
Yeah, I think you're gonna find that
It is messy, it
bringing
is.
water out.
If you put too much water in, it overflows.
It's
and,
gonna be a mess.
So it takes a little bit of skill to figure out how much water to put in so you don't overflow when you're flushing.
Right. So now I've done all of that. The next thing that happens is, now you have a barrel that is wet. And you don't want it to rust. There's going to be rust. As Cunningham says, there's nothing we can do, it's gonna rust. I suppose there's some truth to that, but I wanna take every precaution to keep the rust a distant foe. T-shirt,